get started so that I'm respectful of everybody else's time. So that again, the recording of this presentation is going to be available. It's going to be available in our community, and you could go in there to check it out. So, without any further ado, let's get this show on the road. So, our presentation today, our webinar today, is going to be about a topic that is ever too familiar to each and every one of us. Right? It's about burnout. Burnout is something that most of us busy professionals are going to experience at some point in our career if we're not already experiencing at this moment. Um, and it is something that we get exposed to, especially if it's even worse, right? If you're like a high achiever, ambitious person that you want to do so much, because of the way we've been told how life is supposed to be. We're going to get in that point where we face burnout. I first came across this whole aspect of burnout in my own personal life. My mother is a nurse and a very hardworking, very ambitious nurse. And she migrated here in the U.S. About 20 something years ago. And when she migrated here, she brought us all our kids and my siblings and I. And I saw my mother working really hard. My mother is ambitious, America, the land of opportunity. She came and saw this opportunity and she put in the work. And I saw her putting in all these hours upon hours. My mother used to work 60, 70, sometimes even 80 hours a week, tirelessly because the hours were available there. And the only way we thought of how to create money or to create an income is to exchange our hours for dollars. And I saw that took a really dramatic toll on her later on in life as she developed really chronic migraines, and I saw her go through that pain, and that left an impact on me individually, especially me, the fact that I also got into nursing like her. That left a significant impact on me. So anytime I was in my career, I was thinking too about that. I was thinking about how putting in all these hours, sacrificing our bodies can have a significant impact on us later on in life, and that was one of the things that one of the triggers that got me on this journey of growth, which I find myself on today. So let's understand what burnout truly is. See, the problem is, as human beings, we are growth centered individuals, like we are growth centered beings, right? From the moment we come out of our mother's womb, we are growing, we start growing, and we are moving towards that growth. It's such a joyful journey. See, a child is looking forward to the next step, whether it's walking, whether it's talking, whether it's playing with their friends. And by the time you get to that 4-year-old age, you want to do something that you can do when you're 5-year-old and stuff like that. And teenaging is same thing, right? When you get to teenage years, you go to school, you're looking forward to the next task, you're looking forward to the next milestone that you want to accomplish, right? And we've been taught that those milestones is like, okay, the pinnacle is when you get to school, you get a job, right? Go get this degree, go after this job, set this goal. That whole journey to getting to that goal is exciting, challenging at times, but exciting. We're looking forward to that growth. Then you get to that point, you get to that career point, right? And you have the job, right? So you have that job and you start working. Now, we've been taught that, when you get to that job, that's where the growth stops. You're supposed to stay in this career, stay in this job, and just keep going around. Maybe if you are in like in some positions, you rise all the way to a top executive, or in other positions. For us in healthcare, as a nurse, you're a nurse. You might get challenges, go through difficult cases when you start. They get to a certain point when you almost seen everything that you could see, right? So what's next? The progressional part is go to school again, maybe get another advanced degree, which I did, and get another job. But then you get to that point, right, where it's like you are stuck. Like, you see this ceiling to your growth, right? Like, guys, think back, like all of you on this call today, or anybody listening to this recording, right? Think back to the start of your career. You remember that feeling, right? The excitement, the energy that you were ready to conquer the world. You told yourself, I'll put in the hours, right? Whatever it takes. You did it day after night. And for most of us, that early phase of our career, it's exciting. You're learning a lot, you're growing a lot, you're facing a lot of challenges. You're going through different things every day. You're learning something new. But guess what? Something happens over time, right? Which is what I was telling you about. Right? A few years down the line, the fatigue kicks in. All these new procedures or all these new things that you're doing is no longer as exciting as it has been anymore, right? So you see, you start off with this high energy, high productivity, you dedicated enthusiasm. Then you get to a peak point, right? Where it's like the work is increasing, the hours are increasing, the stress is increasing. Like you're having a toll on your own personal life. Then you start seeing your productivity going down, right? Then you lead into exhaustion, sometimes even mental health. Mental health is a whole big issue right now. And I can attest to that because I also own a ketamine infusion clinic where we take care of patients with busy professionals with drug resistant depression. And we see it, a lot of it from this burnout. You get to a point where you've hit that peak and you're not seeing any other path to growth. And being growth centers beings that we are, that depression kicks in, right? And that is what we call burnout, right? And that is what we see across every single career. It's not that something that is unique to one career path, right? And here are the stats, guys, right? According to Gallup, a staggering 76% of employees experience some kind of burnout. That's a Gallup stat right there, with 28% that feel burnout almost all the time, right? And these aren't just numbers. These represent actual people, real people, your sisters, your brothers, us, right? Even your mom, my mom, your dad. These are the challenges that we face in our respective careers, right? Because when you keep exchanging your hours for dollars, there's just a limit of what you could make, right? And you get to that point where you start feeling that burnout. The burnout kicks in, right? And then you start seeing impact. The impact is not just on you psychologically. You start seeing the impact on your health, right? According to one study that is right on here, 55% working 55% working long hours suffer from negative health impacts. I gave you guys the example of my own personal story of my mother, where she developed chronic migraines for putting in all those hours. You know, even myself, at some point, from working 60, 70 hours as a CRNA, getting all that overtime, I started seeing some effects on myself. You know, I remember one time, I was feeling so much fatigue, like just tired, like tired. I would come back from work and 30 minutes later, I'm out. You know, I wake up in the morning feeling tired, you know, and I've been spending so much time in our building, in the hospital without any sunlight, so much that my vitamin D levels were down to critical levels. You know, so I was feeling that burnout all in my health as well. And the doctor had to get me to prescribe, like almost rush me to the hospital to get a vitamin D infusion because my vitamin D levels had dropped down so low. You know, so imagine what life would look like if you could take back control, right? Take back control of some of that time. Take back control of the direction that your life is going, right? And living life with a sense of purpose, you know. And that is where I was at. That is where I was at back in 2015, 2014, when I embarked on a personal journey of growth myself. That's where I was at, like thinking like what life would be if there was no ceiling to my growth. So so here's the truth about us working professionals, right? Most of us, this is like a work-life pyramid. This is where we spend most of our time. Most of our time is dedicated to working, right? We dedicate little or no time to even maybe like savings or dedicating time to understand how we save the resources that we develop from working, and even less time dedicated towards our own personal growth and well-being. You know, like once we get in this career path, we want to put in all the effort, we want to grow, we put in all this time, like spending a whole lot more time on working, exchanging our hours, and missing out on our own lives, not even dedicating time to understand how we could use those resources that we work so hard for to maybe save, to maybe invest in ourselves to continue to grow, right? And that is how we find ourselves getting into burnout so fast, right? Or getting into burnout at some point in our paths. The key to really emerging out of this is like inversing this triangle. Like start dedicating more time to your growth and well-being. And when you do that, you're going to find yourself doing more to save and invest, to put your resources to work for you. And when you do that, you're going to find yourself spending less and less time having to exchange your hours for dollars. So it's about reversing this triangle and dedicating time to your growth and well-being. So as you can see, the bottom of the triangle just represents the amount of time that we spend working, while in the middle, how much of that time we dedicate towards savings, or like our resources that we dedicate towards savings, and how much of the time that we dedicate to our own growth and well-being. You got to remember, guys, the most important person in the equation is you. It's not your job. It's not even the savings. It's not the investments. The most important person in the equation is you. And when you focus in on you, focus on your growth and well-being, everything else grows. Even the job, even the savings, everything else grows along with you. So the focus has to be on us, has to be at the top of that triangle. Right? A lot of us want to work. We work this hard. We want to save money, put money in our 401k because we're getting for some further gratification, some further day for retirement. The whole concept of retirement that has been sold to us, like we have to work hard all our lives so that someday we could just sit back and retire and hopefully enjoy the gains of what we work so hard for. But if you've been living in this world and seeing what's happening, like inflation, it's like increasing year by year. So the resources that you're generating today might not be as valuable 10, 20, 30 years from today, right? And that is what this poll showed, that a staggering 64% of Americans fear they won't have enough money to comfortably retire. And that is being seen today. Like if you talk to a lot of financial advisors, they'll tell you the same. Like what used to 20, 30 years ago, $1 million in retirement was good enough for people to retire off of. Today it's not, right? Today $1 million is not. So a lot of people are worried, and again, all of these worries, all of these fears, all of these concerns are some of the things that increase the burnout that we face, right? Having that psychological burden of knowing that you're going to work all these years and you're still unable to take care of yourself when you're unable to work, adds to that. So and burnout does not just affect you, the person, psychologically. It also affects your family. That was me 2016. Yeah, my daughter was born 2015. And towards the end of 2016, I realized that I came back home one day and I was just sitting around and I watched her while she was playing, talking, walking, and doing some other things. And I realized, oh my God, I started my career as a CRNA in 2015, and I've pretty much missed out on my daughter's life because I was there. I was at that exciting phase. All the hours were coming in. I was putting in all those hours, working all the overtime. I was the favorite new CRNA in my hospital because I was the hardest working person. But I realized that I had missed out so much on my daughter's life. And even when I came back home, all fatigued, all tired, there wasn't even a moment for me to have a conversation with my wife or even build on that relationship with my wife. And we see it happening, right? When you get in that high level of stress, it just doesn't affect your health and you psychologically. It's also affect the relationship that you have with other people. So the burnout is not just an effect on you, it affects everybody around you. And you find yourself getting ticked off by the listing because you're exhausted, you're overworking yourself, right? So burnout can really trap us in this vicious cycle, right? So and then now you start seeing the deteriorating effects. I told you guys about my experience with vitamin D deficiency, the chronic fatigue, the stress accumulation, and again, it's this cycle that we've been taught as human beings. When we in that phase, when we are not going after something that pushes us to grow, we find ourselves feeling stuck, right? And the stuck creates all this anxiety. I was listening to an author of one of a really good book that I'm currently reading. I think the name of the book is The Biology of Belief. I highly recommend it for anybody to read it, especially if you like science based. But it talked about the power of like anxiety, right? All this of having this anxiety and high stress, and how that affects us as human beings and affects our expressions, the expression of our DNA, of our traits, right? How that high stress has more of an effect than your own genetic code. I think it's the field called epigenetics now, which talks about how the environment affects who we become, who we are, right? So these high stress environments lead to us developing all these issues like chronic pain, depression, even some cancers are related to that. So this cycle that we're in can have some serious consequential effects on our health and ourselves, right? Because again, I talked about this, the traditional approach. We've been taught to go to school, get a job, work hard, exchange your hours for dollars, save your money in a savings account, and hopefully retire someday, right? But as you can see, I wasn't the only one who was worried about retirement. In 2008, after I saw my preceptor lost a significant portion of our retirement account to the stock market crash of 2008, I was scared. I was scared. I'm gonna go to school, get a job, work all these hours, and then someday I might be able to lose like a significant portion of my retirement like that. So I was forced to postpone her retirement and had to go back to work. So I was one of those 64% of Americans that are worried about retirement, about not having enough to take care of themselves. But if you ask me today, when are you going to retire? I'll tell you I'll retire the day I die. Because to me, retirement is when growth stops, right? Because the growth has to continue. And the growth does not necessarily mean that you have to go and start working or doing strenuous activity. I take a very good example of somebody like Warren Buffett or Charlie Munger, right? Those are guys that kept working. Charlie Munger died this year and he died at the age of 99, but he kept working. He was part of Berkshire either way, maybe not as involved, but reading, studying until the day he died. That is the real life we need to live. The growth should never stop, right? This whole concept that we've been taught that you got to get to a certain level and stop growing causes all this burnout and all the symptoms that we're doing. So there are many limitations to this approach. I've illustrated a bunch of them, and just the whole concept of exchanging, of trading your time for money is one of the most inefficient methods of creating wealth. If one of your goals of getting a job or getting a career is to create wealth, exchanging your hours for dollars is one of the most inefficient methods of creating wealth. You don't have to take my word for it. One of the greatest philosophers of our day today, Naval Ravikant, explains it very, very well, right? Exchanging, they're just 24 hours in a day. It doesn't matter what kind of job, career, or the hourly rate that you have. There's a limit to how much you're going to make, and that limit is limited by time. But when you understand the importance of leverage, not just leveraging the income that you create to create investments that work for you while you're not there, but also leveraging that income to invest in yourself, to gain knowledge that will keep growing, then you step out of that rat race, right? Because guys, one of the most important lessons that I've learned is the gap between where you are today and where you want to be. It's a knowledge gap. It's an information gap. It's an awareness gap, right? It's not necessarily work. It's about having an understanding that you currently don't have right now. And that understanding is what gets you on this journey of growth and takes you out of this cycle of burnout and gets you back to that exciting phase of building something. And you stay in that excitement because you live the rest of your life building something, growing and keep growing and keep growing and seeing all that you work for keep growing and seeing all the impact of your growth that is happening and that is having on other people. So, so there's definitely a more effective strategy than sticking to the rat race and focusing on just getting another job, exchanging our hours for dollars. There's definitely a more effective strategy that has worked for me personally, that has worked for my partners and I. So I introduce you guys to the burnout escape zone. If you look at this map right here, most of us are stuck at the bottom, right, of this quadrant, right, whether it's the left or the right. We are either working super high, working really hard, putting in all the effort, exchanging a lot of our hours, and we're getting a low return, like a low hourly rate, or we are here on the right side, putting in high effort, high return. That was me as a CRNA. I'm a high paid professional. I was making a lot of money, putting in 80 hours, 60 hours a week, working, exchanging all those hours. But again, like I said, there's a limit to how much I could make, and I had to sacrifice a lot in exchange for that. I had to sacrifice a significant amount of my time. I had to sacrifice time with my family. I had to sacrifice my own psychological well-being in order to do that, right? But where we really want to strive to be is the freedom zone. That is the zone we all need to strive for, guys, where you're putting in less effort and you're getting in high reward, right? Now, to get to the freedom zone is not an overnight journey. You might start off at the bottom on the overwork zone where you're putting in all these hours, right? You're working your 9 to 5 job, you're starting a side hustle. So you have like 2 full-time jobs, you're putting in all these hours. But then there's a point where it's like pushing a big rock uphill. There's a point when you get to the top of the hill, and then the rock now starts rolling down with all the momentum that has been built. It carries on and it keeps going, and it could go down that hill and take that momentum to the next longer hill and keep going, right? That is what I call the freedom zone, where you get to a point where your investments in yourself, your investments in other assets is creating enough income that you don't have to keep exchanging your hours for dollars. And guys, that's possible. It's not something that is impossible. A lot of other people before us have done it. My partners and I at Excite Capital have embarked on that journey 5, 6 years ago, and we see ourselves getting there, right? And many others as doing it. Many others have done it much faster. So that freedom zone is what we should all look forward to, and there is a way to get there, right? So like I mentioned, like a good staggering 64% of Americans are worried about their retirement. If you're on this call and you're one of them, one of the things that you got to start looking at is like look at your job as an opportunity, as the resources that you have to invest and to continue to create more for yourself, right? Use your resources that you get from your job. Invest in assets that create wealth for you. Invest in assets that continue to make income for you, right? There's a common saying that time is money. I hate to break this to you. That's such a false statement. Time is not money. Time is more valuable than money. You can make as much money as you want, but you can't get any time that you've lost, right? So the time that we have right now, right, that we're making this money, we use money to buy ourselves more time because time is the biggest resource, the most valuable resource on earth. Nobody, not even Elon Musk, can create more time, right? So time is more valuable than money. So that should be our focus, right? Using our resources to buy ourselves more time. We don't want to wait until we're 80, 90 years old before we have the time to enjoy ourselves, to do the pursuits that we enjoy, right? We can start today. Start investing in ourselves, going after these big goals, and then start enjoying the pursuits that we love enjoying, right? So smart investments. When I talk about smart investments, investments that create passive income for you, that create income for you, and you don't have to be there, right? Investing in real estate, investing in stocks, in dividend producing stocks, or investing in any other assets that produce passive income for you, the income that continues to accelerate and compound over time, right? But the most important and the most profitable investment that you can ever make is an investment in yourself. That is the one investment that is guaranteed to give you exponential returns. Like I listened to Jim Rohn say this on a talk I was listening to about 7 years ago, that to accelerate your growth as an individual, invest 10% of your yearly income on your personal growth. And I started implementing that strategy, and it has been the best thing, the best decision that I've made in my life. A lot of times when they teach us about investments, what they say is like, go and invest in this stock, go and invest in this, invest in that. Guess what you're doing by doing that? You're investing your money in somebody else's resource, somebody else's company, something that somebody else built, right? If you are the type that wants to build, you can invest in yourself and you could go ahead and build that yourself. Remember what I said, the gap between where you are today and where you want to be is an information gap. So you use your resources to invest in information, in mentors, in friends, or whoever, in circles, masterminds, whatever. That is going to give you that information that will move you a step further. I practice that principle every single year. At the end of every year, I look at how much I've made, and I know exactly how much I'm going to invest in myself the subsequent year. If you don't take anything else from this talk, take this. Invest 10% of your yearly income into your personal growth. You do that consistently for 3 5 years, you're not going to recognize the person that you become. And I can't take credit for that. That's a framework that I learned from Jim Rohn, and I applied it into my life, and it has done some amazing things for me. Now, when you are investing in yourself, when you're investing in other resources, or even when you have a job and you have all these resources coming in, the most important thing you want to do is also have some structured financial planning. You want to make sure that you're using that money that you're making in a correct manner. A lot of us, especially after we've gone through school for all these years, we start earning a high income. We want to splurge, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. We got to treat ourselves. You are the most important person in the equation. So splurging on yourself, I personally believe, if splurging on yourself is something that you enjoy doing, go for it. Splurge on yourself, right? But just like I told about the principle that I learned from Jim Rohn about allocating 10% of your income into personal development, maybe allocate the 10% to splurge for yourself, to take care of yourself. So have that structured approach of planning your finances so that it is like an engine that just keeps going. You have a certain percentage that goes towards investments. Maybe you want to invest in passive income, investments in yourself, in savings. You have a structured approach that goes to taking your expenses, and maybe to splurge, go on vacations and have a good time, right? So we got to structure ourselves, structure the income. We got to use our 9 to 5 as a resource to create more for ourselves, right? While I'm here talking about burnout and how exchanging all these hours for dollars can really lead to burnout, this is like we are truly blessed, especially us healthcare professionals. We are truly blessed to have a job that provides some level of stability and that provides a high level of income. Now, the key is about using that income, using those resources that we earn from our jobs to elevate ourselves to a higher level of growth. Not about just getting stuck over there and focusing on just keep exchanging our hours for money. Because once you get those resources, use those resources, invest in yourself, invest in other assets, and you do that consistently for a good period of time. 5, 10 years from when you start your career, you're going to find yourself in a position where you truly do healthcare as a passion. A very good example for that is our CEO, Dr. Julius Oni. I'm sure a lot of you probably saw his recent update where he gave up his practice here in the US and moved all the way to Nigeria to start a joint fellowship practice over there. That is something that Dr. Oni has been very passionate about. From the very first day I met Dr. Oni, he has always been passionate about delivering healthcare, like delivering healthcare for healthcare's sake, not necessarily in the monetized system that we've been used to here. And today he's able to do that, right? He's able to do that because we got on this journey of investing in ourselves, investing in assets, income producing assets. Now you get to live the life that you've always dreamed of living, and you get to have the impact that you've always wanted to have. Everybody, if nothing else, you don't take anything else from this call. I mentioned the 10%. This is the second one. You got to prioritize your well being. If you fall tomorrow and die, your job is still going to be there. You're going to get replaced tomorrow by somebody else. You'll be missed for 2 weeks at most, but the job is still going to go on. I have lost colleagues at work. I remember one Saturday morning, we were supposed to work a Saturday shift, two of us and another CRNA. He had become a really good friend. He was the guy that really got me into drones. And he's always at work very early. And I was at work, and it is 7:30. He's not there. 8 a.m. He's not there, and we're getting worried. The attending anesthesiologist and I, we're getting worried. All the nurses, everybody, because this is somebody that will come to work, bring breakfast for everybody, very happy, loves the weekend and night crew, which a lot of us used to work. And we could not hear from him. We're calling his phone, he's not picking up. Calling his home phone, he's not picking up. Finally called his girlfriend. His girlfriend woke up from sleep, went to his house, knocked on his door, knocked on his door, knocked on his door, and nobody came. So they had to get the cops to break the door. And we found him on the floor. He was dead. He had an aneurysm, and it and he died. And prior to that, he had been complaining of this headache, like this migraines, pain, and all of this. And because we work a lot together, and Dr. John, the other anesthesiologist, and myself were like, "Hey, you gotta go check this out. You gotta go check this out. You gotta go check this out." But he never did. And that was it. He died. It was a sad event for us because we were friends and colleagues at work. But guess what? 3 weeks after he passed away, his shifts were available, and most of us jumped on it and took it, and life goes on. So at the end of the day, I say this story to emphasize on the point of us taking care of ourselves. Like I said, you are the most important person in the whole equation, right? The skills, the value that you bring to your job place does not exist when you're not there, right? And if you're not there, you're gonna get replaced at that person. But to your family, you're irreplaceable. So take care of yourself. Do your frequent health checkups, exercise. Mindfulness exercises. One of the greatest things that I started doing in my life was when I discovered meditation and started getting up every morning to meditate and do an exercise before going to work. It did wonders for my life. So develop some self-care routines, take care of yourself, enjoy the journey, have this positive perspective of the journey that you're on. Even if you're in a job right now that you don't like, look at it as a stepping stone to something that is bigger, because once you start using the resources from that job to invest on yourself, you're going to go to places, right? So, and if need be, do some adjustments with your career, right? Especially if you're trying to start like a side hustle, you're starting to start a business or doing anything, do some adjustments to your career. I did that. What I ended up doing is I ended up signing up for 24-hour shifts on Sundays so I could cover like our OB unit, which a lot of people didn't want to do. But because I was there 24 hours, that gave me like 2 extra days during the week to work on my business. I picked up some night shifts because as an anesthesia provider at night, believe it or not, we get to sleep. So that wasn't too taxing on the body. So that flexibility, that change of schedule gave me the time to be able to 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 still survive, right, in that overwork and high pay zone, right? I was still able to survive because I was putting in all those hours. But because of my schedule adjustment, I was able to do that. And find your passion projects. For me, it was real estate. It was multifamily real estate and the aspect of growth and helping other people grow. And I'm really passionate about that. And doing that, working on that every day does not feel like work because you're working on something that you're passionate about. You could put in all the hours. Again, as growth centered human beings, working on something that you're passionate about that helps you grow does not feel like burnout. So, and consider whatever career shift or start a side also start a business, and don't box yourself into the identity of your career, right? Like in the words of Tony Robbins, the strongest force in human psychology is the need to stay coherent with how we identify ourselves. So if you identify yourself according to your career, you're going to want to stay that way, and it's going to be almost impossible for you to do anything else, right? So here is a good example of a success story of how this principle, what I'm teaching to you guys today, worked. And it's a dear friend of mine, Dr. Nkem Eziemama, right? Dr. Nkem Eziemama, we met Dr. Nkem Eziemama in the summer of 2022 in Charlotte, North Carolina for the AMPA conference. And we were there doing a presentation about multifamily investing and sharing this passion of ourselves as healthcare professionals, as cybersecurity engineers that got into this path of burnout, saw that this is not the way to be, and discovered that we could create a platform where other hardworking professionals can create passive income, got so excited and created this platform. And she saw the passion of how we're talking about it, how excited we are, and she pulled us all aside one by one, and she said, like I can feel it. I've had this feeling in myself as well. She had just come from going through COVID. If you're a healthcare professional and you went through COVID, you understand what I'm talking about. She had just come from going through COVID, and the burnout was real, and she had that itch. The itch was strong enough for her to open her mind to see something else beyond her identity, and that's where multifamily came in place. And through our partnership and mentorship, Dr. Kim took this to a whole nother level. Like she has grown so fast, so she has grown so far, so fast in a very short period of time. She had completely transformed herself from the person that she was. She stopped limiting herself from being just an ER physician to being Dr. Kem, the trailblazing doctor entrepreneur, that is doing amazing things. This year, she recently got admitted to the NMHC Council. NMHC is like the National Multi Housing Council. This is a council that the where the members are, like the people that own 500,000 units in the US, like the biggest real estate owners in the US are part of NMHC. And she got added to that council, right? This is somebody that started on this journey in 2022. That is the power of opening your mind to possibilities, putting in the work that is necessary, and not getting stuck in that rat race. Looking at something that's, because once you discover whatever passion it is, whatever thing it is that you're passionate about, the speed at which you're going to go there when you keep pushing yourself, when you keep pushing against some of these fears and challenges, it's amazing. And then you find yourself on this journey of excitement, of growth. You feel like it's like a rebirth, right? You're working towards something new. you know that is how we escape out of the burnout, right? Like I mentioned, Dr. Kim was like a stress physician, right? She took the learning, she was willing to learn, open her mind, invested in herself, invested in her own personal development. Transition from just investing in stocks to investing in assets to building a platform and helping others invest in assets. And she has grown so much, her platform has raised over $3 million from investors to invest in multifamily assets. And I'm telling you, if you don't know her yet, follow her on LinkedIn. She's a trailblazer, and you could learn so much from her as well. So, and these are some other people that we've come across as well. Jeremy, Leah is a dear friend. She's a CRNA, and so saw one of my posts. Same feeling of burnout. We've been to the nursing and anesthesia school together. And reached out. And started on the journey of growth herself. Her and her husband Jeremy. So the key here, the key takeaway from this is this, right? Wherever you are in your journey, right? Life doesn't end there. There's a path ahead. And if you're listening to this, if the title of this caught your attention, it's because there's something within you that tells you there has to be more than what we've been sold, right? And I promise you, 1000%, there is more. There is way more. There's a much wider universe, a much vast universe ahead of us. So many more opportunities that we could take part of, and each one of us has our own unique gifts to go out there and bring it to the world. And when you get in on that path, then you get on the path where you're doing something that you're truly passionate about. It no longer becomes work. It becomes you living in your purpose and bringing that purpose to the world. And this was that inspiration. I know when you hear me talk about this, you can see how passionate about I am about this. This was that inspiration that made us to create the Beyond 9 to 5 Club. It's a private environment, private group where we work together as busy professionals. We learn from each other, we share a lot of resources, all the resources, the knowledge and stuff that we've learned over the last 6-7 years, over the almost $500,000 in investments that we've invested in ourselves. We're sharing it to our community of 9 to 5 professionals. And this came about because when we founded Excite Capital and we were going out and educating people about the power of multifamily assets, we realized that a lot of people in our community did not even know that this exists. So we started providing a lot of free education. Through that, we've met some amazing people, learned from some amazing people. So we really had a community. We've been doing a meetup for the last 6 years, every first Monday of the month. Building this robust community, building our database of over 6,000 people. But we've never really had a space where we can interact, share these resources like in a more structured environment, like most of our community members have been asking. So this year we launched the Beyond 9 to 5 Club. As a member of that club, you get access to a lot of educational courses, a lot of support network. You get access to us, the founders of Excite Capital, and an entire team as well. And all of our investors, as a default, you're already a member. You get free access to this, all the premium services, as long as you're an investor of Excite Capital. And if not yet an investor, you're starting your career, you want to learn, you want to grow, you're thinking beyond the 9 to 5 to grow your wealth. I highly encourage you to join the Beyond 9 to 5 Club. But again, it's not for everybody. It's not a place to come in and do. This is a serious environment for people that are serious about growth. So in the Beyond 9 to 5 Club, we give a ton of free ebooks, webinars like this, consultations, a lot more, a lot more. If you know anything about my co-founders and I, Tenny, Julius, and myself, is our passion that we have for teaching and our passion that we have for seeing others grow and helping others grow. It took us a lot to break through certain circles. It took us a lot to break through certain learnings, to understand certain things. And we are so passionate about bringing that to our community because we feel like a lot of that information has, there's like this gatekeeping phenomenon that goes on with information. And our goal is to bring that information to our community. And like I said, remember what I said, the gap, and you know this to be true, the gap between where you are and where you want to go is information. If you're a medical doctor, you're a CRNA. Before you were a CRNA, you were somebody else. And the gap between where you were and where you became a CRNA, it's information and the experience that you got along that way. So wherever you are right now, wherever you want to go, we want to go, that gap is information. And I promise you, it's not as difficult as going to medical school. You won't believe it. A lot of us, we have the discipline, the intelligence to do some amazing things in the world. Because when we go out to these events, when we go out to these networking events, and I meet some of these people that are creating these companies, making millions of dollars, even billions of dollars, and I talk to them, I realize, oh my God, you don't have to be an Elon Musk to be able to do some of these things, right? You just gotta have the right information, the right community, the right support, and you could do so much more. So I can keep talking about this all night, but I wanted to leave you guys with some actionable game plan, right? So the most important thing that you want to do when you leave this call after you watch this video is number one, evaluate where you want to go, right? Evaluate where you are right now. Figure out where you want to go, like pinpoint that area where you want to go, right? Then ask yourself, what information, what am I missing between where I am and where I want to go that I got to figure out? Ask yourself, who has walked down that path before that I could learn from, that I could associate myself with? And once you identify that person, go reach out to that person and start learning from that person, because that is going to give you back the most valuable resource that you have is time. Now you could decide to go about doing a lot of things on your own, right? Again, you're going to pay for it somehow. You either pay for your learnings in time or you pay for it by borrowing the experience of others, right? I personally like borrowing the experience of others. That's why you see in the back of me here, you see all these books. I read from other people that have done it before. I learn from them, I implement. I hire mentors, I hire coaches that have done it before. I learn from them and I implement. And that has led to a lot of growth for myself. So evaluate where you are right now, decide where you want to go, identify the knowledge that you need to gain to get there, find the person that has done it before, associate yourself with them, start taking action, and then track your progress. And I promise you, 2 years from today, 3 years from today, you are not going to recognize the person that you've become, right? So now is the time, guys. Take control of your own future, right? We can keep blaming our employers, we can keep blaming the system, but at the end of the day, we are responsible for our own lives. So if you do not like the path that you're in, do something to change it, right? It is possible. Many others have done it. We are doing it. You can do it too. So use your resources, invest in your own freedom, right? Whether it's investing in assets that produce income that compound over time so that you have passive income generating wealth for you or asset generating wealth for you. But I overemphasize the importance of investing in yourself. And that does not mean you should go do anything crazy tomorrow. Just buy a book, read a book. My journey to personal growth started with a single book. I bought that book. I looked at the receipt the other day, and you won't believe it. I bought it for 14.99, and that was the one book that opened my mind to the world of possibilities, and that got me on this journey. The journey that led me to co-founding Excite Capital, this amazing platform that we're using to help others build generational wealth, and that got us to this place where we could create the Beyond 9 to 5 Club to help other 9 to 5 professionals get that kind of result as well. So you want to continue as you get on this journey, prioritize yourself, prioritize your health, prioritize your mental health. Whatever it is that works for you, meditation, prayer, or whatever, journaling, whatever works for you, right? But prioritize your mental health, prioritize your health, exercise, take care of your body. And when you do that, you're going to see everything else around you, even the job. Even if you don't like your job right now, you're going to see even your job, the way you treat your job begin to change. When before I started this journey, personal development. You could see me walking to work with like this. At that point, my vitamin D levels were really low, so you could see the look on my face when I walked into work. But when I learned from Les Brown. He talked about when somebody asks you how you doing, just say I'm living the dream and see how they react. And now every day I live the dream. I started responding and started saying, "How you doing, Leslie? I'm living the dream." And guess what? The dream is becoming a reality. So, guys, so I invite you all, I invite everybody on this call. First of all, thank you for giving us your attention. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us this evening. I invite you all to come join Beyond 9 to 5 Club and share with us. As you join in, you're going to see a ton of resources, ton of savings, right? Ton of savings. Director of Excite Academy and Club, Mr. Adi Agrawa, did an amazing job to negotiate all these beautiful contracts with all these beautiful guys that are giving us ton of savings. So you get in there, you start saving that money because we want you to save that money and invest in yourself, invest in other assets, and then you learn from other professionals that have done it before. You learn how to do it yourself. You get access to videos, courses, books, recommendations, calls, question and answers. Again, it's going to be like it's a vibrant environment, and we welcome you in. We welcome your intelligence, your brilliance into this community so that we can continue to give value to each other. I hope I've been of value to you this evening. On that note, I'm going to wrap it up and open it up for questions.
Yeah, that was super powerful, Leslie.
Thank you, Jimmy. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, fantastic, and amazing evening.